dry, itchy, sore throat, tummy irritation like heartburn and ulcers. You can make these yourself, and they are even better than the Thayer Slippery Elm Lozenges.
Today we're making slippery elm throat soothers. These could be for the throat or the tummy. Now these aren't pretty to look at, but they are especially good for mouth sores or a dry, irritated throat. And if you have a dry mouth, they may also help with that. Many herbalists may call these lozenges, but I call them soothers. When I think of lozenges, I think of the hard candy type cough drops. Those are boiled to a hard boil, which would destroy the benefits of the honey. These are kind of like the Thayer's slippery elm lozenges, but these are so much better. For starters, they contain honey. Thayer's does not. The only cooking in this recipe is making the licorice root tea. So let's get our supplies together. Okay, these begin with a strong licorice tea. Either 1 teaspoon of the chopped licorice root or half a teaspoon of the powdered licorice root. Now I prefer the chopped over the powder because the powder is harder to strain. Do not buy the licorice sticks. They are nearly impossible to chop up. Now if that's all you have, you could probably break off a piece and just kind of figure that's a teaspoon. Now you're also going to need a small saucepan with a lid. You're going to need half a cup of water. I prefer distilled water. You're going to need a strainer and a funnel and a container to put your tea in. You're going to need 2 1 tablespoon measuring spoons and a teaspoon measuring spoon. You're going to need 2 tablespoons of slippery elm powder plus extra for rolling. You're going to need 1 tablespoon of honey, a small bowl or a plate, another upside down plate or dehydrator. You're going to need wax, paper or parchment. You're going to need a rolling pan, or in my case my husband made it from a dowel for me. You're going to need a bottle cap or a pizza cutter and maybe a cute little tin to put your soothers in. Now let's get started making our licorice tea. Okay, we're going to make a strong licorice tea. You just take a saucepan, we're adding half a cup of water, a teaspoon of the chopped licorice root. Now if I was using the powdered licorice root, I would use a half a teaspoon. I'm just going to cover it, bring it to a boil. I'm going to simmer it for 10 to 15 minutes. I want it to get half, till it simmered down to 1/4 of a cup. I'm going to strain it, and then we're ready to make our slippery elm throat soothers. Okay, now we're ready to start making our slippery elm throat soothers. We're going to start off with 1 tablespoon of our slippery elm powder. And to that, we're going to add 1 teaspoon of our licorice root tea. Now, if you worked with flour before, you know if you were to dump everything together, it would not mix well. So you just want to kind of get in there and make a paste. Now, slippery elm is the inner bark of the elm tree, and it is considered a survival food. Matter of fact, George Washington and his troops made a porridge out of it during the American Revolution. So we just want to keep gradually adding 1 teaspoon at a time, and we need a total of 4 teaspoons. And when we get that all moistened real good, then we will add our tablespoon of honey. We're going to mix that well. Okay, now we're going to place another tablespoon of the slippery elm powder here on our parchment paper and stir this into the slippery elm powder. Now, a hint for keeping your wax paper or parchment paper from curling up on the ends, especially when you're at the end of the row, is to put a little bit of water underneath it, and that will help it to stick. Okay, we're going to just kind of mix this in. We're going to make it into a ball, kind of like we would a pie dough. And of course, if you were going to resell these, you would want to use some vinyl gloves, since you're really getting your hands into it. Okay, now we're going to sprinkle this extra slippery elm powder on it. That's about a tablespoon, 2 tablespoons, maybe a little more. Just going to kind of get that in there, flatten it out. Then we're going to roll it maybe a 1/4 of an inch thick. Keeping in mind the thicker you leave it, the longer it's going to take for it to dry. Then you're going to take your bottle cap. You can cut little circles out of it and put it on an upside down paper plate. Now, if you're really not that patient, you could also take a pizza cutter, kind of form it into a little rectangle, and cut it in little squares. You want to keep in mind what size would be comfortable to put in your mouth. The reason you have to dry these, if you were to use these right now, they would instantly dissolve in your mouth, and then they wouldn't really be doing the job. Whereas if you put them in, when they get really dry, you put them in your mouth, and they're going to slowly create mucilage and slowly coat your throat. If it's itchy and scratchy, or if you've got a mouth sore, it'll be real soothing to your mouth sore. Okay, and there you have it. And then you just want to just kind of flip them over each day. Might take a week for them to dry. Now, if you want to hurry the process up, you could put it in a dehydrator, or you could turn on your put them in your oven, just turning on the light bulb. You don't want to turn the oven on, and let them dry. Now, they're really not pretty to look at, but once you put them in your mouth and start to suck on them, they'll create that mucilage, and it will be so soothing to your throat or mouth.
Thank you for joining me today. Now, if you wish to see more of these videos, like and subscribe to our channel. Leave me comments in the comments section. Now, for the last 30 years, all of our income has come off our organic farm here in East Texas. We're 100 miles from Dallas, and our little community of 400 still considers chicken fried steak, mashed potatoes, and gravy a health food. And they just do not understand our lifestyle. They still laugh at what we are doing, especially since our main crop is wheatgrass, which they really have no idea what that is. We need your support by subscribing and liking our channel, and be sure and visit me at familyguidetoherbs.com, your guide to natural homemade remedies. Thank you so much.